Okay, so today we're talking about mastering meal planning, and we're going to talk about our metabolism types and how to incorporate that into meal planning. Now, you've heard this expression, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Well, the way we eat in our nutrition, there has to be elements of planning involved. Okay, so I want to talk about some things. Scheduling meal planning, planning for what I call uh-oh moments, which are unforeseen circumstances, journaling, and we'll talk about our metabolism types. Okay, so there's a lot involved with meal planning, but it doesn't have to be this complicated, stuffy, controlling kind of thing. It needs to be something that's adaptable, something that we can use in our lives, but really the ultimate point of meal planning is to help you be successful in your fitness and weight loss goals, okay? And how are you gonna reach those goals if you don't have some kind of a plan with your eating? It doesn't make sense. You can't say, okay, I wanna lose 20 pounds, but I have no plan on my eating on how I'm gonna get there. How successful do you think you'll be at losing those 20 pounds? You won't, right? Mm-hmm. So it's interesting about that, you didn't like how your mother did it, and maybe that could be like, oh, I don't want to do a meal plan. But I think it has to do with a mindset shift here. It's not this kind of getting boxed in, but more like, okay, let me look at first of all, we'll start with the metabolism types, and let me look at what I should be eating that's best for my metabolism type, and then what does my life look like this week? Am I going out to have something going on with my husband that night or whatever, and then planning accordingly. And then of course it has to do with, you talked to Robin about having large amounts of leftovers at the end, So that's a little bit of meal planning, is learning really quantities and how much you need during the week, right? Or freeze them or make sure that your kids eat them for lunch or whatever, right? Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is planning for those uh-oh moments. This one is really key. This right here can totally derail your efforts to eat healthy, lose weight, get more fit. This issue right here. And this has to do with, has it ever happened to you that you're going on an errand and you thought that you were only going to be gone for half an hour, right? And then 5 hours later, you're like, what just happened? Right? Has that ever happened? And you don't have any food with you. So you're starving, right? 2-3 hours into it, you're like, oh my gosh, I need to eat. Now, what do you feel like eating at that time? I know, I just want to go buy a bag of carrots at Safeway when I feel like that, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
No.
You're so disciplined.
Or whatever, Don't ask Robert, no. What do you feel like doing? You're driving by and you see McDonald's or, whatever. You see something, oh, that sounds good. Or, I swear, those places have fans, and they blow the French fry smell and cookie smells at you. You drive by and you have to catch this whiff of something. I bet you that they do that, seriously. And that's what you want to eat, right? It's true. You guys are laughing because you know it's true, huh? You smell it, you're like, oh my gosh, it smells so good, So the one thing, and this may sound kind of oversimplistic, but I'm telling you, every client who I've had who's done this has really succeeded in this, is no matter where you go, when you're going, how long you think you'll be gone, always, always, always have a food bag with you. Yes. Always. Who's heard me say that to them before? Yeah, he's like, yeah, but it really works, doesn't it? If you always, always, always plan to have food with you, and it's really easy. Having nutrition bars, raw almonds, having I like snap peas, grapes, any kind of cut up fruit, string cheese, all of those things. They're really simple things to pack, but that can get you through when you're running around and you have this unforeseen thing that happens that makes it a long time before you eat. Remember, your blood sugar tanks, we talked about this in the first class, your blood sugar tanks if you don't eat every 3 to 4 hours, and your body craves high glycemic foods that will spike your blood sugar really quickly. Your body triggers your body to have that response. And a high glycemic food is fast food, junk food, starchy carbohydrates, cookies, chips, those kinds of things. Okay, so you can avoid that by packing food with you. Okay, it's very simple, but seriously, it's sometimes things that are so simple we just don't do them because it's just almost too easy. So can everybody work on that one? Mm-hmm. It's a pretty easy one, isn't it? Always have something in your fridge. So this is the part that doesn't address Zandy's comment about having it too structured. Is the way I meal plan is I buy some of the same types of foods that I enjoy, and when I go to plan my week or my meals for the day, I literally just grab my food bag and like take half the fridge and dump it in the food bag. You know, it's not that I'm spending hours and hours creating different things. It's very easy staple, easy things to put together, or finger food types of things that you can throw in there and carry with you every day. So that's really a simple way of meal planning, okay? The other thing too is a lot of you know I love USANA's shakes and bars, and that's the nutritional company that we use here, and a lot of our clients use them and see great results. They taste amazing, you feel really good, and they're quick and convenient, you know? So when you want a quick meal replacement, you can do the smoothie in the morning. They're great at, like right now, they're really good as a post-workout shake, you know, because you can replenish the energy stores that you just burned, and they got a lot of fiber, so they keep you full, and their bars are really great. So that's a really good, healthy way to do something quick and plan without making it overly complicated, okay? Another thing that's really helpful is doing a food journal. Now, the food journal isn't a requirement of the challenge. However, if you want to do a success session with me and you want me to see what you're eating and help you meal plan, the food journal is really ideal because it really helps us see what you're actually doing. A lot of times you don't really pay attention to how you're eating, what you're eating, because it's a little bit more, you're not as mindful about it. Did you have a question?
No, I was just gonna say, doing a food journal helps me not eat something, because I know that Priscilla's gonna see it, and I know like how many burpees or whatever I'm gonna have to do.
Right, exactly, and you should turn the camera to her so that I'm not just talking to the wall. That would be the voice behind the camera.
Like right here.
But it's true, yeah, and there's that accountability as well. So those of you also, another great thing I would recommend that in your team, why don't you do a food journal and at the end of the week, show each other what you're doing. That's also helpful, that's accountability. But of course, it's kind of like opening your underwear drawer, you know, I'm not sure if you want everybody else to see it, you know, but it's really helpful, it's really helpful. But even if you don't have anyone look at it, now this is a little less accountable, but still, this is the mindful part, just keeping a journal yourself is helpful, okay? Because you become aware of what you're doing. And that can help you plan your meals. You're like, oh my gosh, why did I eat? I ate pasta all day long today. You know, well, obviously I didn't go grocery shopping. And so that can help you start seeing patterns, eating the same thing over and over, not having balanced meals, and then you can plan better that way by looking at your patterns. And the biggest thing when it comes to changing those patterns is this is really what you have to do. You've got to just commit. Find one day in your schedule to plan your meals and go grocery shopping. I mean, that's, like I said, we plan for other things. You plan to come to camp, you plan to go to the dentist, you plan to take your kids to school. I mean, you plan for so many things. If you really want to see long-term results, you want to lose weight, not just in this challenge, but continue, and you want to keep that off and see results, you've got to be serious about this. You have to be willing to make this a habit. I mean, we weren't born brushing our teeth, right? We learned that if we don't brush our teeth, what's going to happen?
They'll fall out.
They'll fall out, right? Your teeth will rot, right? So you develop this habit over time, brushing your teeth, hopefully more than once a day. And do you still do it? How many years have you been doing it? A long time, right? And when you don't do it, do you notice?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, other people notice too. Okay, so if you made meal planning the same habit like that, where, let's say, for example, every Sunday evening, okay, or Saturday or something like that, sometime over the weekend, usually that's kind of the best time, either Friday or Sunday, you just sit down, you think about your week. Okay, I'm going to this person's house, and I'm doing that, and you know, we're having dinner at home, and man, I've got a really busy week. Okay, just thinking about it, and not necessarily has to be Mondays this, Tuesdays this, but some people like that. Some people like very, very structured, but some people don't like that big structure. Whatever works for you, okay? It's not this one formula that if you do it like this, then you're gonna reach your goal. Find what works for you, but have some element of meal planning where you pick a day Take a little bit of time, look through your week, think about what's going on that week, where you're going, what you're doing, and then think about, okay, what do I want to eat? And what do I do? I need to make something, am I bringing something here? Am I going out to eat? I need to plan for that. And then plan your grocery list. You know, the other thing too, we'll talk about this when we do our supermarket tour, this is a great class, is the less trips you make to the grocery store, the more money you actually save. Studies have shown you'll actually have a smaller budget in groceries if you don't make as many trips that month. So meal planning and the grocery shopping go hand in hand if you want to save money on your grocery budget, okay? Okay, so the last thing I wanted to do and really get into this piece before we leave is your metabolism type. Now I'm going through these really quickly. So if you have questions later, I'm happy to talk with you one-on-one when we're done. Just want to make sure that I touch everything. So, I want to talk about calories first. The whole idea is a calorie is a calorie, and that calories don't really matter, and I really can't eat that many calories and lose weight. There are a lot of misconceptions about calories. So what's important for you to know is that not all calories are created equal. You could eat, let's say you're on a 1,200 calorie diet, which is pretty low, okay? And you're eating all Twinkies. Do you think you will lose weight or gain weight? Why?
Sugar?
What's happening with the sugar?
Oh, it's breaking down into carbohydrates.
Well, actually carbs break down into sugar. It's the other way.
Okay.
Carbs break down to sugar. What's happening is you're spiking your blood sugar so much with all the Twinkies that your body stores that as fat. Your body can't handle that much sugar, okay? So you may be eating 1,200 calories worth of Twinkies, but you're gonna gain weight, all right? So a calorie is not a calorie. You have sugar calories and fat calories and protein calories, okay? And your body metabolizes them differently. So it's important to know how many calories your body needs for you to maintain your weight and to lose, but then we need to talk about what those calories should be made up of, okay? So first of all, I'm gonna do a little math here. And I know probably most of you have phones, so you'll have a little calculator. So this is what we're gonna do. You're gonna multiply your weight by 13, 14, or 15. Now, if you have a particularly slow metabolism and you maybe don't exercise that much, obviously you're all exercising more than you ever have maybe, but if you feel like you have a particularly slow metabolism, and if it weren't for this challenge, you normally don't exercise that much, then 13 is your number, okay? If you perform moderate exercise about 3 times a week, then 14 is your number. If vigorous exercise, 5 times a week. So multiply your weight by that number. And you may find that this is, it'll seem kind of high, because this is the number of calories you need to maintain your weight. It may seem pretty high, but this is because, especially if you're somebody here who's trying to lose some weight, that's to maintain where you're at right now, okay? So, just for your own.
To maintain your weight?
To maintain, so just for your own interest, you could take the weight you would like to be and then multiply it and see what that would be to maintain your weight, okay? That's an interesting number for you to know, to be doing later, okay? But what I want you to do now, for healthy weight loss, you shouldn't really reduce your caloric intake by more than 20%, okay? So take that, your calories that you got and multiply it by 0.8, okay? Multiply it, whatever you got, multiply it by 0.8, okay? 0.80, 80%, so basically you're gonna get that 20% number. And that is the calorie number that you need right now in order to lose weight at a healthy pace, which we recommend is 1 to 2 pounds a week. Yeah, you look at me like, really? That many calories? I know exactly what that look means, because I get that all the time.
Wait a minute. Multiply by 0.8,
Yep.
and that's how many we need.
Yeah, now again, it has to do with the kinds of calories you're consuming. So, let's talk about your type. So you have the protein type, the carb type, and the mixed type, okay? I gave you an allowable servings guide. So they'll say mixed carb protein, and you'll have 14,000 calories a day, 16, 14,000. Oh my gosh. Nobody said a word either. No one said a word. First I said 14 and then I said 14,000 and none of you said a peep about that. You're just laughing at me. Okay, so you have 1,400 calories, 1,600 calories, 1,800 calories, and so forth. You guys know what I'm talking about? Okay. So, okay, were you able to find yourself on that chart?
Yes.
You need a chart? I
Okay.
think I have another one. Does anybody need a chart?
Just wait.
Does anyone need a chart? Yes? Okay. All right. So now you can see there what your meals should look like. Okay? So, for example, if you are at 1,600 calories, you need, if you're a carb type, you need 1 protein and 2 carbs for breakfast. If you're a protein type, you need 3 proteins and 1 carb for breakfast.
What if you're dual?
Then that's a mixed type. It's a 2 protein, 2 carb for breakfast. Do you need that? Do you need
I
this,
see.
Tracy?
I have the attachment.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so does that make sense? Are you guys following me?
Yes.
Don't look at me with blind stares, like if you're not sure, you're not following me. Okay, so look at it, did you figure out your number of how many calories you need? Okay, so you're on this chart. And then did you do the metabolism type test? What type are you?
The fat and protein.
Fat and protein. So if you look on the calories there, look under the protein column, and then you'll see what you should be doing. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. So that is your guide. That's your guide right there of the serving. That is how your meal should look. So when it comes to meal planning, you guys all received the 8-week meal plan for the challenge. Now, did you notice, and some of you may like recipe, very exact. But what I found that people like choices. And so it has, for breakfast, you can choose this or this or this or this for a protein. And then for a veggie, you can choose this or this or this, and so forth. Okay? So that's why this is a similar thing. It says 1 protein or 2 protein. It doesn't tell you which ones, it just tells you how many. So you should look at your breakfast and compare it. Oh wow, this is all carb. And I'm a carb type. Okay, but that means I have 2 carbs, but I need a protein to go along with it. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
So what is what are the 2 carbs or the 3, like?
We're getting to that.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, but are you guys following me with that? Good. So I want you to be able to know, based on your calories of where you want to be, what your meal should look like. How many carbs should be in it, how many proteins. And really you should commit this to memory. It's not that difficult if you look at the different meals. You're going to be eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner for the rest of your life, so you should know how many proteins you should be eating at dinner time. Does that make sense? Okay, so now real quick, I want to go through the protein types and a little bit about each one. Okay, so if you're a protein type, now this is, of course there's always exceptions, but in general, a protein type craves the rich fatty foods like pizza and sausage and salty roasted nuts, these kinds of, yeah, they're like, oh yeah, the protein types are like, would you stop, please, are we almost done, I'm getting hungry. Okay, and so you may not feel satiated after eating just a snack, you might often feel hungry even after a large meal. Like, you're like, why am I hungry again? You're a person who seems to be hungry a lot. I bet you Robert's a protein type. I told him the other day, I say, if you say I'm hungry again, you're gonna owe me $100 for every time you say I'm hungry. He's always hungry. And that is a protein type, oftentimes they just have a hard time being satiated. They're hungry a lot, okay? If you eat sugary foods, you may start to feel jittery, or you find it difficult to stop. You'll feel when your energy level stops. These are some things that some of the protein types experience. If you try to lose weight by extreme methods, extreme calorie cutting methods, you're really going to be unsuccessful and you feel miserable in the process because you're a person who you need to eat, and you really feel that when you just increase your calorie intake. Maybe some of you experience that. Okay, and the biggest thing, the problem with you not eating according to your type is you'll have these energy ups and downs, and that's a key. You should really notice that. If your energy is really, you feel lethargic, you're just don't feel steady in your energy, you're definitely not eating according to your type, and you really need to work on that. Okay, so now you know what you need. So, what do you need? you need, in terms of protein, you need the heavier protein choices. You need saturated fat. You need dark meats like whole eggs, beef, full-fat dairies, things like that. Now, we don't have time to go into the fat conversation, all right? I did have a class on this and I had emailed, or I had a printout about fat, because saturated fat is not bad. It's things like processed foods and hydrogenated oils. Those are the things that cause heart disease and degenerative disease, not saturated fat, okay? And protein types, you guys need that, okay? You guys need the heavier protein. So when you look on the chart that I gave you guys, and it said protein choices for protein types, all those that are shaded in gray, those are the ones that you should be choosing when you look at your meal and it says 2 proteins. So in the morning, it should be 2 whole eggs, okay? Does that make sense? It's pretty simple. You just need to look at it. Now that you kind of get it, then just go back and look at it and make a lot of sense, okay? A couple of other things. You definitely must be eating protein at every meal, every snack. You need to eat frequently. You need to eat small meals frequently, so to satiate that hunger that you have. Really avoid refined carbohydrates. Everybody needs to do this, but it's even more important for a protein type, because that just gets you into a cycle that you're just hungry and keep eating sugary foods. And you actually really need to avoid most fruits and fruit juices. You really have to pay attention to your fruit amount, okay? That's something that's working against you. So limit your fruit, okay? Carb types. If you're a carb type, you may be one of those people who forgets to eat sometimes. Now, I can't even imagine that. But you can be happy with a minimal fat amount of food during the day. You can get on by small amounts, and especially when you're stressed or really busy at work, you just don't eat. And you can tend to skip meals. So any of you like that? That happens sometimes? You skip meals, and yeah, you just go extended periods without eating, which sends the metabolism into a starvation mode. So the protein type might eat all the sugary foods, and it causes you to spike and crash, and the carb type is just down there. Okay, so they both have to do with the high glycemic roller coaster. Those are both issues that are causing your blood sugar to tank, okay? And when your blood sugar is low, you have cravings and your body wants to store fat. It wants to hold on to the fat because it's like, oh my gosh, I'm starving, okay? So both of those cause that reaction in your body, okay? So you have a high tolerance for baked goods and starchy vegetables. Those are the things that you tend to crave more of. But the problem is we tend to overeat them, so that can lead to hypoglycemia, insulin resistance, diabetes. Those are the things that are caused by eating a lot of those starches, starchy carbs. Okay, so you need a diet that's composed of more lighter, lower fat protein. So you can do the white fish, white meat, chicken, the light meat. And then, yeah, like I said, things like tilapia or sea bass, those are good choices when it comes to protein. And you're satiated with those, okay? And you can eat carbohydrates in a bigger quantity than protein types. However, you have to really look at what are the carbs that you eat. They have to be low glycemic carbs. So you can have more carbs, but they have to be low glycemic carbs. So again, you look on the chart, and you look in gray at the protein and the carb choices for the carb type. And those are the best choices for you, if you're a carb type. A couple of the things for carb types is that you want to choose dairy products carefully. Apparently, I've learned that carb types tend to metabolize dairy more poorly, some of you, okay? See how you feel. Do you experience that?
Yes.
See how you feel after you have certain milk products, and see how your body feels. Do you feel bloated? Do you feel gassy? Do you just not feel good? Low energy. Then you may not be able to metabolize dairy products very well. Okay. The legumes is another one. Legumes is another one that you may not be able to metabolize those very well. Okay. And then limit nuts and seeds because that might be too much fat for you. Okay. So that's one thing you should be thinking about. All right? And mixed types are easy. Mixed types can choose from any one. You can go back and forth between the two. You don't really have a one or the other. Perhaps what I have found is people who our mixed types really actually lean more towards the carb or more towards the protein type. And it's, for you, it's a little bit of experimentation. So for if you're a mixed type here, what you can do is one day have a meal, a breakfast for example, and just do egg whites. Another one, and the next day do whole eggs, and really monitor how do you feel, how hungry were you later, how did you feel, and that can help you see, well, I kind of felt the same, I didn't really notice a difference, or, you know, I felt a lot better when I ate the whole eggs, and that you might lean more towards the protein. Usually that's really kind of where you are. You may start out as mixed, but over time you'll find that you'll gravitate towards one or the other. So, does anybody have any questions? I went through that really quickly, but you really need just some time to digest that. Look at all the gray areas and then start working on your meal plan and say, okay, you know, I'd like to have some white fish this week, and you know, I'd like to try this, and really think about, you have the 8-week meal plan, now take this and look at, okay, I should be having these 2 proteins and the 1 carb and so forth, and put them together, and then start trying the dark shades for your type, okay? Hopefully you're not too overwhelmed with that. Hopefully that gives you more of, okay, I know what my meal should look like. How do you guys feel? Do you feel like that, or does anybody have any questions, anything? You feel pretty good about that? Does that feel controlling, Sandy?
No, I actually do a lot of these things.
Oh, that's funny.
You know, you learn over time, you know, I don't write down meals, but I know what I have in my refrigerator.
Uh-huh,
You know,
yeah,
I know I have a lot of fruit and salads.
yeah,
And the harder part is not being home to cook a meal, to have several meals ready.
yes,
For the
yeah,
quick times, yeah. But
yeah,
I've learned over time,
yes.
I plan in my head
You
instead of
plan.
write it down.
Yeah, and what you do, what works for you, but planning is really the key here. It's planning. For you to succeed, you have to plan, however you want, writing it down, and whatever it is, but, you know, even sending a text to yourself, whatever you have to do, you know, yes.
Okay, so I know we're supposed to gravitate or try to choose the ones that are shaded gray, but like some of the stuff like cod, I like cod. Should I not eat cod anymore?
Well, it's not saying that you should never, ever eat it again, but in terms of the best protein for your type, where you're gonna be the most satiated, where you're gonna see the faster results in fat loss, it's not the best choice. So the shaded gray are the best choices for you, but that doesn't mean, guys, you know,
Okay.
it's gonna completely derail you, just don't eat it every night, okay?
And it really is true. I did this diet on one of the challenges, I don't know, this past fall, and it's incredible. Like, you'll notice, like, when you actually choose and eat all of your meals based on the gray shade, I was always like, I'm not hungry. How is that possible?
I remember that, yeah, I remember that. That was a
Incredible.
huge
I switched to
revelation for you.
like dark meat chicken, and I was like, I didn't prefer it, but now
Yeah.
I eat it and I'm not hungry after lunch. Whereas if
Yeah.
I were to eat a chicken breast, I'd be hungry in 2 hours.
So interesting. It's really interesting. It's kind of fun to experiment on yourself actually in that way. So that's great. Awesome. Well, great. So just remember, you know, if you fail, you plan to fail. So succeed at planning, guys. It's really going to help you achieve your long-term goals. Okay? All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.